I am Ohiro Oni-Eseleh. We know from the Trump Woodward tapes that the President of the United States had known for a long time that the coronavirus was very deadly and that our nation was in big trouble. He did nothing to change the course of the impending wars. And just as he does with everything else, he chose to lie about it constantly. So that by the time we found out about the revelation that he made to the iconic Woodward on February 7, 2020, 6 million people had already been infected across the United States, and over 190 people had already died. You see, there is perhaps no other place where the coronavirus has exposed leaders and challenged us to redefine the concept of leadership, as it has done in the Western world, especially the United States. So while the leader of our country has acted with hitherto unimaginable degree of incompetence, incredible dishonesty, and immeasurable levels of irresponsibility, his fans have followed him with unwavering and unrepentant zeal, matched only by his unequivocal callousness. You see, thanks to historic guarantees of freedom of information in the United States, it has been possible to hear tapes and read factual news stories, despite the increasing spates of verbal assaults and threats on the people who bring us the news. Thanks to them, we even know of the other situation of the ever-increasing and worsening motivations that some people in our society constantly have to bend the news toward falsehood and ramp up disinformation even in broad daylight. Because people are not even ashamed to lie anymore. It has just become the order of the day. So I ask myself, if this is happening in the United States, how can we know what the leaders of government in other countries have not done to protect their citizens? How do we even know what conversations they have had behind closed doors that did not represent an interest in saving the lives of people, the people that elected them to office, the people that they claim to govern? How do we even know that most of those leaders are not just as irresponsible as the one who lies relentlessly and does so without shame? Even as I speak now, I know that more people are dying, otherwise preventable deaths, for reasons that include the failure of honest leadership in countries like mine that were considered during pre-COVID times as the world's leaders in knowledge, incompetent, and human leadership. But knowing this to be true, how can I be zestful in my assessment of our world when tomorrow may indeed not be better than today? How can I be hopeful? How can anyone be? How can this not be a legitimate concern when we live in a world that is now replete with people who continue to choose leaders against their own self-interests and then become complicit in their own oppression? We have often thought of leaders as people who rise to positions of power over us, and therefore have earned the authority to make decisions that impact us in ways big and small. By considering leadership in that way, we have often wondered less about how people got to the positions that they occupy, and more about the power and authority that the role confers on them. Therefore, we have ascribed authority to positions and people, and we have followed and revered them just because we are conditioned to do so, even when they have not deserved our respect. So, to my mind, the time has come for us to re-examine how we choose who we call leaders. Leaders should make others better, not worse. Leaders should solve problems, not create new and bigger ones. Leaders should serve the people that they lead, not use them as props. Leaders should understand that they are themselves human, just as the fallible people who can be forgiven for the misjudgments that produce leaders who have no destinations in mind to lead their citizens, their subjects, or subordinates to. I think we make mistakes because we are human. But people who cannot acknowledge their own mistakes and or cannot get themselves to ask for forgiveness are not just arrogant and blind to self. It seems to me that they also must never touch the reins of leadership because they can only harm the institutions and people that they lead. That is because a bad leader is a scourge to the institutions and all people that he or she leads. There is absolutely no way around it. It is just a fact. That is how it is.